We're going to wait just a couple of moments for a technical issue to get cleared up, and then we'll get started. Okay, welcome to the City of Oklahoma City Board of Adjustment meeting for January 21st, 2021, which is now called to order. We ask that you silence your cell phones if you have not already. If you're hoping to speak on a matter and you're not the applicant, hopefully you filled out one of these white cards that are available outside and pass those to the clerk so that we can recognize you to speak. Whether you're the applicant or someone else hoping to speak on a matter, we ask that you limit your comments to 5 minutes. We also ask that you abide by the COVID precautions that the city's put in place, which include wearing a mask at all times, including while you're talking. Me personally, I'd recommend not really touching anything. If you can, open doorknobs with your jacket, things like that. But that's not a city ordinance. Beyond that, I think that's all we have as the preliminary announcements. The agenda includes a comprehensive set of new instructions, and so you can refer to those as needed. The first item on the agenda is to receive the minutes from the January 7th, 2021 meeting. Do we have any changes or a motion?
I'll move we receive.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to receive the minutes of January 7th, 2021 meeting. Once you're able to, cast your votes, please.
Aye.
Okay, and Ms. Asbury will be by voice vote. And they're approved. And Cindy, I was not able to see who was left voting for your purposes.
I'm sorry.
I was not able to see who has and has not
Okay.
voted, so for your
Thank you.
purposes. Next item on the agenda, continuance requests or withdrawals. I believe we have one.
We have item number 5, case number 14807, deferred till February 4th, 2021. And item number 6, case number 14780, deferred till February 18th, 2021.
Okay,
And
we have two.
And a new item, item number 4, case number 14729, has been withdrawn.
Okay. We don't need a motion on that one. Was anyone here to speak on the items that are to be continued or requested to be continued? Okay, hearing none, I think we can take a motion to continue as requested.
Motion to continue as read.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and that voice vote was by Ms. Asbury. There we go. To continue the items as requested, cast your votes once you're able to.
Aye.
And those items are continued. Next item on the agenda is the consent docket. We have no items on the consent docket, so we'll move on to items requiring a separate vote.
We have item number 1, case number 14815, request of West Point Group LLC for variance to setback regulations in the R1 Single Family Residential District located at 8213 Northwest 151st Street.
Good afternoon, Mason Schwartz, 522 Colcord Drive, here on behalf of the applicant. This is a variance request to remedy two small encroachments that were constructed mistakenly on this property. We have given a handout. I'm not sure if the board members have it, but the first page of that just shows the lot delineations, some annotations on there, and the second page is an aerial which marks the subject tract as well. And what you'll notice on the first page for the subject lot of this variance, lot 4, if you look at that red line, that is where the actual interconnecting line is between the two pins that were pulled when the construction began on this home. The correct pin should have been pulled on the actual building line, which is to the right. They mistakenly grabbed the pin that was in the lot to the north on the back side of the lot. And so what that did was it just created an angled linear plane upon which house for lot 3 and the house for lot 4 were built. And so you'll notice there's still a 10-foot setback between these two homes, and they're built along that axis. It's just the wrong axis. And so it's created encroachment on the side zoning setback, the 5-foot setback of up to 3.4 feet, and then less of an encroachment as you come south in the yard. It's also it created a 2.6-foot encroachment on the 20-foot building line platted setback. And so what we're asking today is just the minimum necessary in terms of the variance to alleviate this hardship. And we certainly believe that we meet the statutory conditions. Before I get into those, I want to note that our client, the owner of Lot 4, also owns the lot to the west, which is Lot 5. And so that lot is currently vacant. You can see that on the aerial. And so our client is in a position to ensure that as that lot to the west, Lot 5, gets constructed, that it will also maintain that 10-foot separation between buildings, and obviously meet the setbacks as well, to, again, ensure the separation that's kind of built into some of these setback issues. The statutory conditions, like I said, I think were met. I mean, the hardship obviously here is if we are not able to obtain a variance, we're exposing ourselves to perpetual violation of zoning setbacks, which theoretically could result in having to tear down the building and get it right. And the trade-off for that is just the couple feet that we feel is necessary to alleviate the hardship. We think it's peculiar to this particular case because it involved a specific mistake, made in the process of construction for this property. The minimum necessary, I think I've touched on that as well. I think it's demonstrated by the exhibits, and we believe it's not going to cause detriment to the public good or impair the purpose of the ordinance. Obviously, in theory, the lot owner that would be potentially most affected by this type of encroachment would be the lot owner to the west here, seeing as though that's where the encroachment is. And in this circumstance, again, our client owns that property to the west and is going to be able to be in a position to develop it accordingly to kind of compensate for some of these mistakes that came out of this. I do want to one note, we reviewed the letter of protest that was submitted, and as I understand it, our client sold Lot 3 to the gentleman I believe is protesting today, and offered, once this mistake came to light, which was after the title process, and nobody caught this really until they started doing work on stuff to the west, and then some numbers didn't add up. Our client went to this gentleman and offered to include in this variance, the necessary variance for the building line setback on Lot 3 to the east. And that gentleman declined the letter of authorization, as I understand it, with the preference that I believe he would like that utility easement vacated as well. So I will let the protesters speak to whatever they feel the issues are, but I would say preemptively that to the extent that we're talking about us including certain portions of that property in our variance and whatnot, these are all private contractual matters. They really have no bearing on the statutory conditions of this place, and we certainly will do our best to work through those, but I don't believe they have relevance to this variance application. So happy to answer any questions and ask for your approval.
Well, I was going to ask about Lot 3, so I wasn't sure if we'd seen it or not, but it sounds like we could see it someday. And yeah, it looks like it's encroaching on the utility easement, maybe on both of them, but that's not a problem. So are you saying you're going to correct up with the west lot, or you're just going to keep it the same exact line, or?
Well, I'm not sure. I have not seen the actual plans for it. I know that what our client intends to do is honor the separation requirements. We have our client here if you want more details on it. We have Kendall Dillon as well, our engineer. But you can see from the aerials that they're off center. I don't imagine my client is going to continue to try to build them all center. So the separation requirements, I think, are the biggest thing. But I think that's the advantage of having that common ownership.
Yeah, there's going to be an offset pin on each one of those lots, so they better pick the right one next time.
Yeah, and
yeah.
consequences of the mistake.
I have some questions and comments, but I think I'll wait until after we hear the protest. Board members, any other questions for now of the applicant's representative? Okay. Thank you. We'll call you back up.
Maybe for the surveyor that picked up the pen.
Yeah. Can't quite read this last name, but I've only got one protest here. So if that person wanted to come speak now, you'll be recognized. And just introduce yourself by name and address and give us your comments.
Yes, my name is Matt Jones. Sorry for the misprint on the
Oh, right.
piece of paper there. I live at 8209 Northwest 151st Street, right next to the 8213 home. And I was approached on December 9th at my home by West Point Homes in regards to a setback encroachment. And during that time, I was asked to sign a piece of paper for them to act on my behalf. Of course, I did not know what I was signing. This is my first time buying a home, so I was very incompetent. So I wanted to educate myself on the situation and issue first before signing anything. So after further investigation and talking with planning and zoning, and then some other advisors as well, on December 11th, I called back to West Point and asked them to thoroughly take care of the issue. After talking with, I think his name's Thad Johnson of Planning and Zoning, that if I'm in that setback, I'm also in that easement as well, and it's a twofold mistake. And I was only disclosed one half of it, so I called back again, asking for them to thoroughly take care of the mistake rather than just half of it, so that I don't have to worry about this issue once I go to possibly resell the house. And so here I am today coming to the hearing, and that's my only opposition for the house next to me, is that not only did they make a mistake on that, and I understand that mistakes happen, but it happened twice. And so again, I called today to Mr. Anthony and asked if both of the issues get resolved, and did not get that granted. So now I'm here today just opposing that until my mistake is fully and thoroughly taken care of as well.
Yeah, not an easy case, but I understand your position. And this is the, highest amount of leverage you'll have to get them to fix the problem, I think, and you're taking advantage of that, which I understand. Board members, any questions or comments? Okay, thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Schwartz, if you want to address those, and then I'll have a couple comments.
If I could just address a couple things, and we understand the concern there, but as this board knows, the process for closing and vacating an easement is through a whole separate channel, so the Planning Commission and City Council and potentially District Court, depending on the statutory avenue that you choose. It's a whole different animal, and before you take that route, I think we'd want to explore the possibility that see who's in there in terms of the utilities, potentially perhaps you get a release or a partial release. There's other potential avenues to take than going full-blown district court, and that trying to line that timeline up with you getting the variance here is just, it's unrealistic. And again, more importantly, for purposes of this board's consideration, it's not within the purview of the statutory conditions.
Well, Mr. Schwartz, you've been up here a lot. Oh, yeah, I've got some comments for you, but you've been up here a lot, so you understand. I mean, I don't like these applications. We've granted some, we've denied some. We're really not the board of correcting mistakes. That's for other entities to do. And at some point, it might just be a hard lesson that your client's going to have to learn. Apparently, they keep making mistakes. I don't think this is their first variance request for a mistake like this. And here we've got two right here in front of us.
Well, a technical point, it was one mistake that had an effect on two lots,
Sure.
right? Because it was missed one pin and then it made both lots wrong. So, I mean, I can't speak to the broader issues necessarily, but I mean, all I know is that in this particular case, again, I understand the broader concern of dealing with these kind of deals, but there's the hardship and the alternative is, again, perpetual violation of the zoning ordinance. I guess you would have to replat, 100 plus lots and rezone and do all these things that, while I understand this board may not be in the business of trying to be board of corrections, but it is, our client feels obviously the only reasonable avenue of relief.
The time where I think we're more comfortable granting these is when there's actually a peculiar piece of property here.
Mason, how many houses are currently being built or are built? in this neighborhood? Doesn't have to be exact, just kind of roundabout. 30, 40 houses? 35.
I can tell you that the overall plat, the final plat of Twin Silos Section 1 is far beyond that. And that's part of the problem that I think we'd have to explore, that the alternative avenues with the utility, because the statutes require a certain percentage of lot owners, once plots have been sold, to sign off on utility vacations and closings. So that's a whole different animal, and it is a part of a broader subdivision.
My initial thoughts when reviewing this application were, if we've got an opportunity to fix both of these, that's where I was leaning toward, so.
And that's what we're trying to do as well. And again, the
Well,
easement.
not both the variances, both of these properties, the protester's property and the subject lot.
Correct, and that's why I say that we made the offer from the get-go. We asked them to sign a letter of authorization, so we would take the cost and take the time to go and do that variance as well. But again, I think you heard from the gentleman what his view on that was. Yeah, I agree that ideally it would have been done together, but I also don't think that this application should be held up with the hopes that, perhaps there's some sort of private contractual resolution with regards to the what the process is for vacating. And again, that is a totally different process. It's much longer, varies from statutory avenues, and so I think it's really difficult to entangle those two when you're looking at this application, especially in terms of the statutory conditions and the considerations.
Yeah, I understand that and still tended toward that. I mean, the alternative is, I think he sues you and for damages, and so figure all this stuff out. So if we have an opportunity to,
Oh, we'd hope not.
right, I mean.
But we are going to work with them. I think there is a way to handle this. I just don't think you can tie the two together because they're totally different processes.
But what assurances does he have now? This is my point to him, is this is his highest point of leverage. And after this is done,
He's got to deal with the utility company too, so.
Well, that might be the case, but that doesn't make it a valid protest in terms of the statutory conditions and what's at issue before a board and a variance. Again, that's a private matter, is what it is. And I see where you're coming from, but I don't think it's really within the purview of this board to focus on those kind of issues. And I think that at the end of the day, you're going to have to take care of it. But I think finding out the best way to do that it was going to be a collaborative effort, but I don't think it has bearing on this application before the board.
I understand it. It's a good point. I mean, I guess my position was, we're going out on a limb if we were going to grant this anyway, and saying that it's a peculiar piece of property. I mean, it's a rectangle. It's not a cul-de-sac or something.
Well, I wouldn't
We're
say
going out
that
on a
this.
limb, so if we're going out on a limb, you guys might have to go out on a limb.
I wouldn't necessarily say that the property itself is peculiar, but the conditions are peculiar to the particular piece of property involved.
But
And
y'all
think-
brought the conditions on
Yeah,
yourself,
it's
so.
a self-imposed issue, which is.
Well, and I understand that, but this, again, this is from a specific mistake that was made. Now, I understand it's been made on other lots and whatnot, but it's still a mistake that is specific to this lot and the mistake that was made here. Again, the actual dimensions, the actual encroachment, and you're getting into the nuts and bolts of what the conditions of this variance are, and what the encroachment that we're asking for. We believe it's peculiar to this issue with these two lots.
Mr. Jones, I think I saw your hand. Did you have a comment or? Yes. Okay, can we get that on the record, on the microphone?
Of course, when they came to the house, they provided my original mortgage inspection report. And of course, you're granted 10 days before closing to either opt out. And that report showed my house to be built in straight and not encroaching any easements, property lines, or setbacks or anything of that nature. This was brought to me on December 9th. And again, I understand if this happens with one home, people make mistakes, but this happened to both. And again, I've communicated with them, asking them to work with me to get this issue thoroughly resolved for both the setback and the easement encroachment. And just speaking with my dad's attorney and his advice that he's given me, he said to go back again and ask them if they are willing to get this thoroughly resolved before I have to take matters in my own hand and move forward with maybe a potential loss or whatever the case may be. And all I'm asking is work with me to get this thoroughly resolved, because if this inspection, after the survey done after the fact would have been provided to me before the house is closing, I wouldn't have never closed on the house. And all I'm asking is just please work with me to get this issue thoroughly resolved. And that's taking care of the easement. And I sent this to Thad, asking him, hey, can you please confirm before I go here that this is an easement encroachment, and that's a utility line, as well as that setback? And he said, yes, sir, that is correct. So I have email confirmation for that, if I need to provide that, showing that it is a twofold mistake. And he told me it was a twofold process to get it both resolved. All I'm asking is for it to be thoroughly resolved. They did approach me asking to get the setback for the variance for the setback. They did request that, but at the time I did not know what I was getting myself into. So I'm glad I did the research to also see that I was in the easement as well and need that taken care of. So that's all I'm asking, is to get it thoroughly resolved.
Yeah, if they could resolve the variance issue, I think that, I agree with them that would be much faster. And that would at least take care of half of your problems. And then you can deal with the encroachment issue, given their assurances, potentially without holding up this application on Lot 4 as just an option, but thank you.
But that's all, thank you.
So just a couple more points on that. I mean, here's part of the problem. If you're talking about the actual vacation of the easement, if you go through the full closing and vacation process through a district court, that entire process could take 6 months, a year.
Yeah.
What you're asking to do in practical effect is asking an owner of their property to continue in violation of a setback while a case pens that may or may not be approved by a court. And I understand the desire to have both these easements taken care of at once, and that's why we tried to do it the way we did. But we could potentially be open to deferring it to include both, but we would have to have some sort of assurance that the property owner would sign off or a letter of authorization without necessarily having the easement vacated. Because again, I think first off, it's beyond the scope of really what the conditions of a variance are for this board. And I also just think it's impractical to tie those two issues together. And we do want to work with him to get it resolved, and I think we can. Like I said, there are a couple different avenues, and I might have to get some opinions from the title companies. Again, this came by the title companies without anybody catching it as well. And so this wasn't as though we were just sitting on this. It kind of caught everybody off guard.
All right. I'm in agreement with the deferment. That's about the only thing I'm in agreement with on this right now.
That's where I was.
Yeah, that's what I was, because I heard
A
both of them
deferment, I'm in
say
agreement with
something.
that, and I'm willing to make a motion. How many weeks do you need? Next meeting, or to get with the adjacent landowner and try to work something out?
They'd need the new notice. 'Cause
Yeah, right, yeah, okay, so, yeah, at least,
Separate address, so it would need a new application.
right.
Whatever the next, I think, available docket is, I think we'll state for purposes of the record, though, that, we will certainly go back and work with them and see if we can, get everybody on board with doing both these variances together. But if the gentleman is not willing to do the letter of authorization until there's a easement release, and, we can't get some sort of short process for doing that, then we'll have to be back and just have to go back individually next time.
Yeah, and I think that would tip in your favor too, if you come back and say, we tried to work with them and, for whatever reason, it didn't work out.
Well, and he's got a lot better idea now of what he's dealing with,
Right.
and not just an attorney giving him some paper to sign. And, I understandably, I would be skeptical of the same, so,
Yeah,
I have no fault for that.
I suspect, I wouldn't want the easement issue, like you said, I've done vacations, they sometimes take a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And, I wouldn't want that holding up this Lot 4. So if there's maybe an agreement that, in writing or something, that issue gets worked out between the parties, again, that's not for our purposes, but to satisfy the protest, that might work. And then a way to deal with the variance on both of these lots, I think that's probably the way forward on this one.
Yeah, that works with us. We'll take a deferral until the next available meeting, and we'll work with the gentleman and see if we can get, put together in the same application.
Okay, and then Cindy, you'll have to forgive me, I went blank, but is that enough time for the notice?
Yeah, make sure we don't have time for notice of the,
Yeah, you have to have at least 20 days before notice goes out for adding that address.
So is this next,
So our next meeting is
So-
February 18th.
so it's not one that we skip a week? Let's see.
Like one after that.
Oh, 18th, yeah, that gives you enough time.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, if we have to defer another time, we will, but started with the 18th, I think works.
Okay, I'll move to defer case number 14815 to the February 18th meeting.
I'll second.
Okay,
Sorry,
got a
Mike.
motion to defer the application in case number 14815 to February 18th, 2021. Once you're able to, cast your votes. And Ms. Asbury, I think, did you vote in favor? Or is your voting thing working now?
Yes, it's so weird. It just popped up all of a sudden on its own.
Okay, well, there we go, good.
Thank you.
And it's approved. Thank you.
And we have item number 2, case number 14816, request of Brian Dolan with Lamar Johnson Collaborative for a variance to landscape regulation, moderate industrial district located at 5500 South Rockwall Avenue.
Good afternoon. Brian Dolan, Lamar Johnson Collaborative, 17720 67th Avenue, all the way from Illinois in Tinley Park. Good afternoon. Thank you for having us. What you can see on the screen represents our project for our client. I'm the architect. This is Project Baxter. The current lot is about 104 acres. Our intent is to put a 190,000 square foot vehicle inspection facility on site where they process vehicles, make kind of minor repairs, then store them on site until an end user purchases the vehicles. Currently, the zoning implies that we would be under more of a commercial use group. Our intent and our goal is to match the surrounding properties from a landscape perspective and go with more of an industrial storage use group for landscape. The plans that we had submitted for landscape, this is the civil plan where you can kind of see it. Yeah, so the landscape plans that you can see on the screen there shows what our belief is the industrial storage application requires, where you can see along the frontage roads, we have a screen of trees, shrubs, and ground cover. And then behind that, you can see the employee parking lot of about 450 spaces that's adhering to the point system through Oklahoma City with 3 points per space. And then as the T-shaped portion up in the top right, you can see is the actual facility itself. And the large area to the south would be vehicle storage for those that have made it through the process and are waiting for customer purchase. So our intent, and I can bring Matt Roth up as well, representing the project. Our intent really with adhering to the industrial storage group, going with more of the commercial storage application in that vehicle storage area, we would have to put quite a number of landscape elements in there that would really adversely affect the operations. Cars and trees don't typically mix when you're trying to move them around and store them around on site. And it would reduce the amount of storage and throughput through the facility in general. With that, Matt, you want to say a few words? Sorry.
Hello, my name is Matt Roth. I represent Project Baxter. So this site we run into some peculiar instances with that are peculiar shape of it, really. We're working around a lot, right where you see L1.07, there's a lot right there we're working around. It has kind of a U-shape or wrench shape around it. We're also working around a railroad track to the south and also a drainage, stormwater detention pond in the northwest corner that we have to work around. Through Oklahoma City's current code, our use is a commercial use, although we will not have any commercial activity. No customers will be coming on site. This is purely just for storage and repurposing of vehicles. What we look to do, we believe with our proposed landscape standards, we would like to propose is moving a step less intense to the industrial instead of the commercial landscape standards. We believe it matches the current area, which is mostly industrial all the way through. We are within a M2 general industrial district. We are zoned by right within there, but our use is connected to a commercial use. We're hoping to go with a less intense use with the industrial standard.
I mean, current landscaping is so beautiful.
Well, that was going to be my only issue would be, I mean, landscaping's a good thing, not just for aesthetics, but you know, temperature and drainage and all kinds of stuff. Here, I think I buy the argument that your use is so unique that it's more like an industrial use. So, you know, maybe, I guess I'm saying I could get on board with it, but I would want it conditioned that it would only be so long as it's used for the proposed use as presented in the application. Given that, I think I could support it, but I'm only one board member. So, board members, any questions or comments of the applicant?
I'm in agreement with you. That's current use makes total sense.
I don't have anyone else signed up to speak, but is anyone else wanted to speak on this application? Okay, hearing none.
Are you planning to expand into that other area? Where there's a riparian area there is only
Are you talking about
the northwest corner?
No, that's going to be saved for drainage, yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, we have any more comments or a motion?
Mike's turn. I'll make it.
Okay. I'll
got it?
second it, go ahead.
Okay. Make a motion to approve case number 14816 for the reasons that it meets the statutory requirements for a variance. Conditions being as long as the use stays the same.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to approve the variance in case number 14816 for the reason it meets the statutory conditions for a variance, subject to the condition that the variance is valid for so long as it continues its current use. Cast your votes, please. And it's approved. Thank you.
Item number 3, case number 14810, request of Troy Williams on behalf of AT&T. Special exception and variance to permit a telecommunication tower in the C3 Community Commercial District located at 11216 North May Avenue.
Sure. Just introduce yourself by name and address.
My name's Troy Williams. I live at 3204 Scotts Bluff in Norman, Oklahoma. We have offices in Oklahoma City too, but AT&T is proposing a 74-foot monopole at this location, and there are no co-locatable structures within a quarter mile or further, except for the office building, which we, for about 18 months, tried to go on the office building, but the rooftop already has a carrier up there, and the structural is a little bit over capacity, I should say, just to keep it that nicely. Even though we tried to work through with the owner, which is Governor Walters, owns the office building, there's another management company that owns the top, and they're having discussions to try to fix what's up there right now. So AT&T is trying to fix a hole in the coverage due to capacity from the other sites that have picked up so much, and this is literally lays out in the middle, and I do have diagrams or plot maps to show you if you'd like those. The issue here is mainly, this is a full-blown 5G site, cellular data, broadband Wi-Fi, and FirstNet, which is a dedicated bandwidth for first responders. So they kind of fit with the system so they can communicate without interruption. The ordinance had actually changed a little bit, working with the Board of Adjustments. When I first started to submit everything, I didn't realize there had been some updates, but actually the updates are technically in my favor as far as setbacks. We meet the setbacks from the north, the east, and the west. It's a 74-foot tower, and the property to the south, we're only 60 feet from the property line. It's kind of a unique situation there too, because it's lot 15, and lot 15 is a split lot, meaning the property owner to the south owns 9 feet of lot 15, which is also zone C3. So I thought I was abutting C3, but for about 6 feet, I'm on R4 for the 100% setback from the height of the tower. I'm actually 125 plus feet to the structure, so double the height of the tower. It's a driveway and parking lot. Some of the other issues were, excuse me, when I submitted the permit upon review, they said I needed a variance for parking spaces. There's actually 204 parking spaces at this facility because it's a big parking lot. And I think they're only required to have 174, and I'm going to use 10. The landowner wanted us to go at this location rather than out in the middle of the parking lot, which I'd have met all the setbacks, because it's behind the building, so it'd be shielded from North May Avenue. So I don't believe the parking issue should be, I was asked to get a variance for it. I don't know why I really need it.
That's only 10 spaces.
Excuse me,
The-
sir.
You'd only need a variance for 10 spaces.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
and we're above the minimum required. The biggest issue is landscaping. It's a parking lot. Landscaping for cell towers is always a problem when you're going in a parking lot because of asphalt. The property to the apartment building property and the neighborhood to the east all have 8-foot fences around them. The property to the north, on the north side of 112th, has an 8-foot fence around their property. We're going to put an 8-foot fence around our facility, which is 36 by 44. Excuse me, masks don't agree with me. And it's a little nicer fence. It's a cedar fence with a top cap and for beautification and things like that that will conceal the equipment. The problem with putting landscaping is it's already the tower's also built for 3 carriers and structurally designed for a 0 fall radius, meaning in a catastrophic event, the top will touch the bottom. Excuse me, woo. The issue with adding landscaping around the site, in a parking lot, you have to put planter boxes. There are, right now, we're going in between 2 planter boxes that are in the parking lot on the southeast and northeast corners. Our site is kind of odd. It goes like a Z almost because of those planter boxes. So we'd be happy to add additional landscaping, and there's also irrigation there. The problem with adding planter boxes in the driveway is it would impede traffic, because you don't just add a planter box, you have to, per code, put curb stops outside the planter boxes so you don't hit the planter boxes. So if we had to make our lease area, if it had to keep that in the lease area, it'd only be like 20 feet wide, which would limit putting 1 carrier in there, much less 3. So that's kind of, I think everything else we meet. There are no co-locatable structures within a quarter mile. I've provided affidavits of such. It's actually further than a quarter mile, but the code said a quarter mile. So that's kind of where we are. I technically, I guess if I'd have thought about it, I could have moved it 5 feet to the corner of the lease area and been 100% setback from the residential, but it also makes the site a little harder to develop with 3 carriers as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's my question is, well, one question is, I don't see a variance request for the setback issue in the application. And so, on that basis, we can't amend it in the meeting.
That was the whole reason I filled out the variance.
Okay,
Oh, it's in my file.
okay.
It
Well,
said setback, parking, and landscaping.
okay. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that one's not, it's not in the version that we have and that was made available to the public and noticed. And so I don't, we can get a municipal counselor to confirm or deny, but I don't think we can even take a vote on the setback issue today until that gets re-noticed and added to the application.
I believe in the ordinance, the director has the right to reduce that, any setback from towers, based on zero fall radius, structurals, things like that. Anyway, so could that be a part of the request?
For our purposes, I don't think so. I mean, I think the director, we couldn't supplant our decision for the director's decision, right?
Oh, right.
And so maybe that's why it wasn't on here, is because you can get that relief elsewhere. I don't know, but
Wasn't that on there, Cindy?
Well, the new Tower Ordinance
Oh.
states that all towers shall be located to provide a minimum distance equal to the height of the tower from any residential district. They took out the 125%, and that's what he had on his application.
that he is equal to. And
All
that's why.
towers shall be located so as to provide a minimum distance equal to the height of the tower from any residential district.
So on this one, I'm technically abutting commercial, so I should meet the requirements because I'm abutting commercial, not abutting residential. There's that, it's an odd nonconformity with that split lot. So it's C3, lot 15 is all, the owner owns lot 13, 14, and 15. Lot 15 is split by the owner to the south, south. Think about this. And,
JJ around here? Is any staff? I have a
mean,
question for him.
Yeah. Is your conclusion that you don't need a variance? That's what I thought I heard Cindy saying. Is
That may be the case. Before, and I apologize, I didn't change the paperwork because we'd already had it in for so long, but I wasn't aware that the Oklahoma City revised their ordinance because it did say 125%. That's why I asked for the variance of 30 feet, something like that. But that changed in the new ordinance revision.
Yeah.
So I wasn't aware that it was taken off of my application.
Okay. Yeah. I guess it sounds like I'm criticizing, or something, but at the end of the day, I just want to make sure that every variance request that you need is incorporated in the application, so you don't have to come back here 2-3 times and pay the fee.
I'm with you.
Yeah, we get it all done in one
Yeah,
application.
I had it in the original one, so I guess since the update came out, that may have changed that, because I'm technically abutting commercial, so I shouldn't need it anyway.
Yeah.
But I included it in my first application
Yeah.
because I was 4 feet or 5 feet short of the 125% from the residential.
Right. Okay. Is that,
That would be a.
I remember changing that rule.
yeah. Okay.
Been
Well,
further
if-
recently.
By the way, that helps me.
Yeah, and if you're comfortable with us proceeding, again, I just don't want you to have to come back and pay the filing fee again and all that stuff, so.
I mean, our notice went out for the parking and the landscaping,
Okay.
and then based on how they took the 125%,
Off
thought that you met that.
because I'm abutting commercial versus residential. Okay.
If you're comfortable, that's fine.
Then I'll be happy to file the building permit. And if I have to come back, sir, I'll come back. Or
Okay.
ladies and gentlemen, sorry.
Sure. The other question I had was with regard to the parking.
Uh-huh.
And I have reservations saying that you meet the statutory conditions whenever it looks like you exceed the parking requirements already, and you're trying to get a variance for 10 spaces. And
The
so,
only, I tried to explain, with the new online system, you file a building permit with all the documentations. They do a plan review and send you back comments online. Used to just come down here, talk to them, they tell me what I need, I write it down, I go do it. It's a little different now. I tried to discuss that, but I haven't ever got it, no communication back and forth, even though I tried to explain there's more than plenty of parking spots. I don't know why I need a variance, but they said I did.
okay,
On my development review form,
Yeah.
I couldn't figure it out
Maybe
either.
a
I even went out and
spot or
counted
two.
them.
yeah,
It's already in a parking lot, so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And the other thing on the planners is you have to have 24 feet from parking spot to parking spot, so I can't put them out, like on the landscape, you can't put them out because you're in the drive, technically, the drive area. So I don't know what else to do there. I'd be happy to add landscaping on those 2 planter boxes on the southeast, northeast, on the catacorner sites, and I'm also behind the building too, so.
okay,
May I add that on the zoning code review, it says a variance is required to reduce the parking requirements of the existing office building.
Yes, ma'am, it said that, but the parking requirements were 174, and there's 204s, I believe, is the number I was given. And so I don't know why taking 10 off equaled 173. Would be 84,
yeah, I've got one,
84. We'd still be ahead.
you've got 204, and you're required to have 147. And the,
Oh, I even dyslexiated that.
that's fine,
Okay.
but
Thank
the point remains the same.
Yes,
And the
sir.
proposed tower is only gonna take up 10, so, you know,
Well,
do you want maybe a continuance to, because I don't know that, I hate to make
I
you do
don't need a
that.
variance then, technically. It's not
Possibly, yeah.
required. It was just on the development review form from the building department.
But that leaves us with landscaping.
Landscaping.
And if you want us to go ahead and discuss and take a vote on landscaping, we can. And then you can, if you need the other variances, you can come back. If you want to just continue, you can do that.
I'd rather, if we can, because I'm kind of stuck if I don't
Okay.
get landscaping. I can deal with the parking
Yeah,
and the setback issue, I believe, through,
okay. And you just come back if not, okay.
if I need to.
On the landscaping issue, it sounded like you could accommodate that a little bit. Is that correct?
On the, let me get this right, southeast and northeast corner, it's kind of hard to see on that. Let me show you. Here. Am I allowed to give to you?
Sure.
No?
And then,
I have two aerials. Let me show you. We're going right here. There's a planter box here and a planter box here. Our site goes around those like that. And here is a view from the rooftop to where they want me to, and my tower's right in here. And so you can see and you can see the fence that's hiding the neighborhood. And by the way, I did talk to a couple of the neighborhood people. They just are asking questions. Main question was, when was it going to be on?
And then here's the planter box.
That could be something you could do that would help.
okay. I think I can get on board with the landscaping request. Board members, did you have any questions or comments?
Looking at this aerial, and not really in our purview, but all the spots being taken up are handicap? I mean,
No, sir, the handicap,
have they been moved?
no, the handicap, those aren't handicap.
Oh, okay, wait,
Some
I'm
stuff
looking
on
at
here,
the,
right?
yeah, I got you, sorry.
It just popped up, so I
You're
got
up.
That was
That's
another
up
reason why.
northwest
I tried
of
to
there.
go right there, so I wouldn't have to do anything except landscaping.
Gotcha. I was looking at the
They
wrong
wanted me
area.
back behind the building, which makes sense. That looks like it's a little bit in the parking lot. I think it's just slid north a tad because I'm in those, I fit within those parking existing stripes on the parking
I
lot.
got you, okay.
This is for the tower.
But, sir, on that arrow, you can kind of see, right where it says subject, you can see that parking lot planter box right there.
Yep,
And there's one that's on the southeast corner, excuse me, is that southeast? Southwest? I'm confused here. Southwest corner, I think I had them backwards. Northeast corner and southwest
I've been
corner.
looking at that.
Yeah, southwest, you're right.
Okay, sorry.
That's all right.
It's really lined up with the back of that building.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay, well, I mean, board members, any other questions or comments?
No, all we're varying is the landscape.
I think we would technically deny the request for a variance on the parking and then grant the request.
Actually, it should be a no vote because it's not, if that part's been withdrawn, it shouldn't be a deny.
Oh, so you're withdrawing it, okay,
Um,
okay.
It's not required.
Yeah, no, that's fine with me as
I
well.
was just following, I'm not good at doing the online stuff. I'm kind of old school. You know, I think I've driven this lady crazy over the years, as many times as I come up there.
And,
And building department, because I like to go say, hey, show me, let's mark this up here, tell me what I need to do.
yeah,
And I apologize.
no, and I
All my
think,
kids are up to speed on that stuff.
I
not
think
me.
that withdrawing it helps you as well, because if you needed to actually have it,
Right.
if we denied it, I think you'd have to wait 6 months.
Right,
To reapply, so withdrawing it is good. So you would like to withdraw the variance request for the parking,
I believe that is correct, sir.
okay? And
We need a separate motion for that, don't we?
not
Do
if
we?
he withdraws it.
No, okay.
Yeah, we'd be okay if he withdraws it, and then the motion would be only,
Just
If I have to come
over
back,
on
I'll come
motion
back,
on
I
the
guess.
specific variance.
and then Ms. Douglas Talley, you're okay with that?
Since it's his application and he's just withdrawing that portion of it, you're free to hear the remaining portion on the landscaping. You're withdrawing the parking, correct?
Yes, ma'am, thank you very much.
All right,
Oh, yeah, just include the variance in the motion.
yeah,
Okay. I'll move to approve variance on section 935019B, subsection 1, subsection J of the city code.
I'll second.
On my button. There it is.
keep our municipal council ready, because it meets the statutory conditions.
Meets the statutory requirements for a variance.
Okay. We've got a motion and a second to approve one of the variance requests in case number 14816. And this is the variance request. Let me make sure that's the right one. Nope, that's the wrong one. Okay, motion and a second to approve one of the variance requests in case number 14810. And this is the variance request to the landscaping requirement in section 9350.19B1J for the reason that it meets the statutory conditions for a variance. Once you're able to, cast your votes, please. And the variance is approved. The other items have been withdrawn or deferred, leaving additional items. Thank you. Thank you. Communications, we have no additional items. Communications and board reports, I have nothing on the agenda. I see no citizens to be heard. Any other business from board members or staff? We are adjourned.